All right, so winter's coming. Are we ready? You sent over this awesome guide from Buyer's Edge.
Yeah.
And they've been around the D.C. area for a while, like
Over 30 years.
over 30 years. Yeah, so I think it's safe to say they've seen a winter or two.
Yeah, they've seen it all.
They've seen it all, and
Especially when it comes to houses.
especially when it comes to houses. And this guide is seriously impressive. It's like way more than just a checklist.
It's a deep dive
It is a deep dive.
to all things winter.
All things winter.
Love it.
So we are going to deep dive into their guide today and see what kind of hidden gems we can uncover.
That's good.
All right, so let's jump right in with something every homeowner in the D.C. area is very familiar with. The heating system.
Yes.
They really emphasize a pre-winter checkup from a pro and HVAC technician.
Yeah, and, a lot of homeowners actually opt for those annual HVAC contracts.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and not only does that ensure, regular maintenance, but it's also like an insurance policy against those dreaded emergency calls. When your furnace decides to give up on the coldest night of the year.
You know what? I can only imagine what those emergency calls cost.
Oh, they're not cheap.
Not cheap at all. So,
No.
okay, so we're getting that pre-winter checkup.
Mm-hmm.
But what can we be doing ourselves to kind of prevent
There's a lot.
those midwinter breakdowns?
So one thing that's easy to overlook are air filters.
Yeah,
Changing them every 2 to 3 months can really boost your system's efficiency.
that makes sense.
And a good quality filter can even extend the time between changes.
Now you're speaking my language.
Right.
Less work.
Less work, more efficiency.
Their efficiency. Love it. Okay, so air filters,
Mm-hmm.
programmable thermostats also get a shout out.
Of course.
I mean, obviously they're convenient,
Yeah.
but they can actually save you money on your heating bill.
That's right. Up to 8% according to the guide.
8%, which is
That's real money.
real money.
Yeah.
That's real money.
Not just like a couple bucks.
Not just a couple bucks. All right, well, we've got our house nice and toasty.
Yeah.
We're saving money, but before we get too cozy,
Mm-hmm.
we've got to talk about safety.
Right. And the guide is really good about emphasizing this too.
Good.
We're talking about carbon monoxide detectors, smoke detectors, fresh batteries. Those are a must.
Absolutely.
And if those units are over 10 years old,
Yeah.
time for replacements.
Time for replacements.
It's easy to put that off.
No, it is.
But they can be lifesavers, literally.
Totally. Okay, so we've got our heating system, we've got our detectors. Let's move on to another area that winter can really wreak havoc on.
What's that?
Plumbing.
Ah, yes, frozen pipes.
Frozen pipes, it's every homeowner's worst nightmare.
Yeah, it's not just an inconvenience when water freezes.
Right.
It expands, by about 9%.
Oh, wow.
Which puts immense pressure on your pipes.
Yeah.
We're talking enough to burst right through them.
Okay, you've officially scared me.
And then you've got flooding, you've got water damage, potential mold.
Oh, no. It gets really bad.
So how do we prevent this plumbing nightmare?
Well, it starts with something deceptively simple.
Okay.
Drain those exterior faucets.
Okay.
Disconnect any hoses.
All right.
Seems obvious.
That does seem obvious.
But you'd be surprised how many people skip it.
You know what? I can see how that happens, once
Yeah.
it gets cold outside.
Out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so drain exterior faucets, disconnect hoses.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything else we might be forgetting?
Well, they also recommend insulating any exposed pipes,
Okay.
particularly in unheated areas like basements,
Oh.
crawl spaces.
So like wrapping them in those foam insulation sleeves you can get at the hardware store.
Exactly. It's cheap.
Okay.
It's easy, and it can prevent a major headache later.
Headache and, potentially thousands of dollars
Absolutely.
in repairs.
Yeah.
All right, speaking of things specific to us here in the DC metro area,
Yes.
the guide also mentions sprinkler systems.
We might not get those crazy deep freezes that other parts of the country get,
Mm-hmm.
but it's still crucial to drain and blow out any water in your sprinkler system.
Yeah, they actually recommend doing this in October.
Oh,
So if you haven't already,
if you haven't already,
you might want to bump that to the top of the list.
I am adding that to my list. Good to know. Okay, so we've got the heating system humming.
Yeah.
We've got our pipes protected. Now let's move on to something that takes a real beating during the winter.
Let's see.
The roof.
The roof, yes.
The roof, they kick things off with a roof inspection,
Mm-hmm.
and they actually suggest grabbing a pair of binoculars.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, and checking for loose or damaged shingles Or if you're not comfortable on a ladder, call in a professional.
Yeah, and Buyer's Edge actually has a list of trusted contractors on their website.
Oh, that's super helpful.
Yeah, really handy resource.
Especially if you're new to homeownership.
Exactly.
And don't have those go-to people yet.
Yeah, that can be really helpful.
All right, so roof's checked.
What's next?
What's next? They highlight the importance of getting your chimney cleaned annually.
Oh, yeah.
Especially if you're a wood-burning fireplace enthusiast like myself.
Now, why is that so important?
Well, I'm assuming it's about soot buildup.
Soot is definitely a factor.
But is there more to it?
But there's also something called creosote.
Good creosote.
It's a highly flammable byproduct of burning wood. So if that builds up in your chimney, it increases the risk of a chimney fire.
Okay, that is a risk I am not willing to take.
No, not a good one.
So annual chimney cleaning?
Non-negotiable.
Non-negotiable. What else are we looking for on the fireplace front?
So making sure your chimney cap is clear, it's intact.
Okay.
This will prevent debris from clogging things up.
Yeah.
It'll also keep out critters.
Oh, I did not think about that.
Who are looking for a cozy winter home.
I can only imagine what that would be like come springtime.
Yeah, not a fun surprise.
Not a fun surprise.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else with the fireplace itself?
Check that damper.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure it opens and closes, locks securely.
Oh.
Keeps those cold drafts out when you're not using it.
Makes sense. Okay, so fireplace is ready to roar.
We're ready to go.
We are ready to go. Now, this next one might seem a little out of left field.
Okay.
But the guide stresses the importance of clean gutters.
Oh, yeah.
And specifically in relation to the fireplace.
Interesting.
I know. It's like, how are those two connected?
Yeah, wouldn't have thought of that.
So those clogged gutters can lead to roof damage, especially in the winter.
We're talking about ice dams.
Ice dams. All right, tell me more.
So imagine snow melts on your roof.
Okay.
Runs down to your gutters.
Yeah.
But they're clogged with leaves, debris. The water can't drain. It refreezes, creates this dam of ice.
Oh, okay.
And then it prevents further melting snow from draining.
So it's like backing up.
Yeah, and then that water can seep under your shingles into your house.
Oh, no.
Causing damage.
Damage. Okay, I had no idea.
Yeah, so keeping those gutters clean,
Yeah.
It's just as important for protecting your roof as it is for preventing, basement floods.
Makes sense. They even suggest extending your downspouts if needed to direct water.
At least 6 feet away from the foundation.
Oh, okay. So it's all about creating a clear path.
Yeah, get that water away from the house.
Get that water away from the house. All right. Well, I think it's time to head outside.
Let's go.
Virtually, of course. And talk about prepping those things we often forget about until it's too late.
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay, so first up, the snowblower. Now, I will admit, I am one of those people who waits till the first snowfall
Uh-oh.
to try and get it running.
That's never a good idea.
And it's always a struggle.
I know, right? Always. Well, the guide emphasizes servicing it before that first snowflake even falls.
Okay.
Make sure it's in good working order.
Good.
Fuel it up, and while you're at it, drain the fuel from your lawnmower, other power tools.
Oh, yeah.
This will prevent that gummy, rusty mess that happens when fuel sits stagnant for months.
Yeah, I've learned that one the hard way.
It's not fun.
It is not fun. So service your snowblower, drain the fuel from all your equipment. Okay, what about garden hoses? They seem pretty harmless.
Not so fast.
Okay.
They can cause some serious plumbing problems.
Really?
If you leave them connected, full of water.
Ah.
So disconnect them, drain them thoroughly. And here's the key.
Okay.
Turn off that outdoor faucet supply valve.
Okay, so it's all about preventing those frozen pipes.
It all comes back to that.
I love how this guide really highlights how everything is connected.
Right.
It's like a domino effect.
It is.
If one thing goes wrong,
it can all fall apart.
Yeah, it can all fall apart. Okay, so outdoor water fountains.
Oh, yeah.
Any prep work there?
So disconnect them, clean them thoroughly.
Okay.
Cover them up.
Okay.
Protect them from the elements.
Makes it. All right. Patio furniture?
Yes.
Do they recommend covering it up?
They do. Investing in waterproof covers
Okay.
can really extend the life of your furniture.
Makes sense.
Protect it from the weather, or if you have the space,
Oh.
bring it inside.
You know, it's always a little sad for me putting away the patio furniture.
Yeah.
It's like officially saying goodbye to summer.
It's the end of an era.
It is the end of an era.
But it's better than replacing it every few years.
True. Okay, last but not least, on our outdoor prep list,
What's that?
the grill.
Ah, the grill.
Now, I know some people grill year-round.
Yeah, those brave souls.
But what are some tips for keeping it in good shape for the winter?
So give it a good cleaning. Cover it up to prevent rust.
Mm-hmm.
They even mention checking propane levels.
Okay.
Storing spare tanks properly.
Good safety reminder.
Yeah, always good to be safe.
All right, so we've covered the house. We've covered the outdoor equipment.
Yeah.
But there's one more area we need to address.
What's that?
Landscaping and the garden.
Ah, the great outdoor.
Now, I know you're not much of a gardener.
Not really my forte.
But a well-maintained yard, even in the winter, really adds to a home's appeal.
You're absolutely right.
So, any landscaping tips?
They have some interesting ones.
Okay.
Starting with something I never would have thought of.
Okay.
Marking your driveways and garden beds with stakes.
Wait, why would you do that?
Oh, that sounds a little strange.
Yeah.
But it's about protecting your plants, walkways, even your driveway.
Okay.
Think about it. You're shoveling snow
Yeah?
using a snowblower.
Yeah.
Those stakes act as visual reminders
Oh, that's so smart.
of where those beds are.
Yeah.
So you don't accidentally damage anything.
That is brilliant. Such a simple but effective idea.
Right.
What about the plants themselves?
So for delicate plants,
Yeah.
bring them indoors.
Okay.
Any fragile ones that stay outside, cover them up.
Okay.
But different plant types have different needs, so you'll want to do a little research
Okay. Makes sense.
on what's best for your plants.
And what about those big trees that are really close to the house?
Oh, yeah.
I was worried about those during winter storms.
Right. Well, they recommend calling a professional
There
to
you go.
trim any trees near your home,
Yeah.
especially those with dead branches or overgrown limbs.
Okay.
They could be dangerous during a storm.
Absolutely. I'd much rather leave the chainsaw wielding to the pros.
Me too.
All right. So trees are trimmed.
Check.
Plants are protected.
Check.
I think we've covered all the major areas of winter prep.
I think so. That was quite the whirlwind tour.
It was a whirlwind tour.
Winterizing.
But you know what?
What's that?
I feel like
Yeah.
I'm ready for winter now.
I think we're as ready as we can be.
I think so too, and we still have 2 more parts to go.
That's right.
So,
We'll really be experts by the end of this.
exactly. All right, well, stay tuned for part 2, where we're going to dive even deeper into the why behind all these winterizing tasks and really unpack how they all come together
Sounds good to me.
to make our homes more resilient and more efficient and just create a better living environment.
I can't wait.
So we'll see you back here for part 2.
See you then. Phew. Oh, I know, right?
That was a lot.
It was a lot.
A lot of good info
A
there.
lot of good info. I feel like we just went on this whirlwind tour of like all the things that could go wrong in the winter,
Yeah,
but also how to prevent them.
exactly. That's the key. Prevention.
That is the key. So I think it's good to like take a step back for a second
Mm-hmm.
and think about like, why is this so important?
Yeah.
It's not just about comfort.
Right. Although that's definitely a nice bonus.
It's a nice bonus.
But it's really about protecting your investment,
Yeah.
preventing potentially costly damage.
It's like an insurance policy
I like that.
for your house.
Yeah.
But instead of like paying premiums, you're putting in a little sweat equity.
A little elbow grease
Elbow grease.
up front.
Exactly.
And, thinking about those frozen pipes we talked about,
Oh, yeah.
that's a perfect example.
Of how a small issue can turn into a big, expensive disaster.
Right. Like that 9% expansion of water when it freezes.
It's no joke.
It is not a joke. It's a lot of pressure.
A lot of pressure on those pipes.
And you mentioned like the flooding and the mold, but are there other consequences? Like what happens if a frozen pipe bursts and damages my walls or my floors?
Well, that's when things get really expensive.
Oh, no.
Because now you're not just talking about like replacing a section of pipe.
Right.
You might be looking at repairing drywall, replacing flooring, even dealing with mold remediation.
Oh my goodness.
Which can be a huge headache and super costly.
So yeah, taking those preventative measures like draining the exterior faucets and insulating those exposed pipes,
Mm-hmm.
It's worth it.
Absolutely. Peace of mind is priceless.
Peace of mind is priceless. Exactly. And it's the same idea with the roof and the gutters, like preventing those ice dams. It's all about managing that water flow
Mm-hmm.
and making sure it doesn't cause havoc in your home.
You know, when you were describing those ice dams earlier, I was picturing like a beaver dam, but made of ice. Like, is that accurate?
You know what?
The visual.
It's not a bad analogy.
Okay.
It's basically a blockage that's preventing that water from draining properly.
Right.
And,
And all that backed up water.
yeah,
It can lead to some problems.
problems, lots of problems.
Roof leaks, damage to your siding, even structural issues if it goes on for too long.
So really those simple tasks like cleaning the gutters,
Mm-hmm.
extending those downspouts,
Yeah.
they're crucial.
Crucial for your home's integrity.
Okay, all right. So we've talked about preventing damage, but I know the guide also delves into energy efficiency,
Yes.
which I am all about.
Me too. Saving money, saving the planet.
Saving money, saving the planet. So they highlight a bunch of different ways to reduce our energy consumption during the winter,
Right.
which is awesome.
So, we talked about the programmable thermostat optimizing your heating schedule.
Yeah.
But what about those drafts?
Oh, the drafts, they can make a house feel so cold.
Even when the heat's cranked up.
Exactly. So how do we tackle those pesky drafts?
Well, they really stress the importance of sealing up those drafts around windows and doors.
Okay.
Even the tiniest gaps can let in a surprising amount of cold air.
It's crazy how that works.
It is, and that just makes your heating system work harder.
Right, and nobody wants that.
No, nobody wants to pay more than they have to.
So what's the best way to seal those drafts up?
Weather stripping?
Yeah.
That's a good option.
Okay.
For doors and windows.
Yeah.
You can also use caulk to seal up any cracks or gaps in your home's exterior.
Okay.
Especially around window frames and door thresholds.
Makes sense.
And don't forget about those electrical outlets and light switches
on
exterior walls.
Yeah.
Those can be sneaky sources of drafts, too.
They are sneaky.
But you could seal them with foam gaskets.
Easy fix.
Easy fix, cheap fix. Okay, I'm making notes over here. Insulation. How does that play into energy efficiency?
So insulation acts as a barrier to heat flow.
Okay.
Keeps that warm air inside during the winter.
Yeah.
Prevents the cold air from seeping in.
It's like a big cozy blanket.
I love that.
For your house.
Big cozy blanket for your house.
I love that visual. Okay, so where should we be focusing our insulation efforts?
The attic is a prime spot because heat rises.
That makes sense.
So making sure your attic has adequate insulation can really reduce heat loss.
Okay.
They also recommend insulating basement walls and crawl spaces because those can be major sources of cold air coming in.
And I remember them saying that proper insulation can cut heat loss by as much as 25%.
That's huge.
That is huge.
And again, it's not just about saving money.
Right.
It's about comfort.
Yeah, it is.
Having a consistent indoor environment.
Makes a big difference.
It does. It reduces the strain on your heating system.
Okay.
Lowers your bills.
All right, so we've sealed up those drafts, added insulation.
Yeah.
But I'm still a little confused about the whole reverse ceiling fan thing.
Okay.
You mentioned that it can push warm air down. But how does that work?
So in winter, that warm air often gets trapped up near the ceiling.
Okay. Heat rises.
Heat rises, exactly.
Okay.
So by reversing your ceiling fan to rotate clockwise on a low setting, you create an updraft that pulls that cooler air near the floor up towards the ceiling.
Okay, so how does that help distribute the warm air?
So as that cooler air is pulled up,
Yep.
it displaces that warmer air.
Oh, okay.
That's accumulated near the ceiling,
Yeah.
forcing it to circulate back down.
So it's like a gentle mixing effect.
Exactly.
Instead of like that direct downdraft you feel in the summer.
Exactly.
Oh.
Simple flick of a switch.
Love it. Low effort, high impact.
My favorite kind of solution.
Same here. All right. Well, it seems like the takeaway here is really understanding the science behind these winterizing tips can make us more effective homeowners.
Absolutely. It's not just about following a checklist.
Right.
It's about understanding why we're doing these things.
Exactly.
Taking that proactive approach to create a more resilient, efficient,
Yeah.
comfortable home environment.
Well said. All right. Well, we've unpacked the science of winterizing, how those small actions can have a big impact on our homes.
Our wallets.
Our wallets.
Our sanity.
Our sanity, yes. But let's be honest.
Okay.
There's one winter task that no amount of science can make fun.
What's that?
Snow removal.
Oh, yeah, that's the worst.
It is the worst, but it's a necessary evil.
It is, especially here in D.C.
Especially here in D.C., we might not get like the crazy blizzards that other parts of the country get.
Right.
But we get our fair share of snow.
We do.
And it's not just about keeping the driveway clear. It's about safety.
Absolutely. And the Buyer's Edge Guide actually has some good advice on that.
Okay, good.
I
They need all the advice I can get.
I think we all do. So they say one of the biggest mistakes people make is waiting till the snow has piled up.
Oh, yeah.
Before they start shoveling.
I am so guilty of that.
Yeah, it's daunting.
It feels so daunting.
When you're looking at a foot of snow.
Oh, yeah.
But it's also a lot harder on your body.
That's true.
To try and move all that heavy compacted snow at once. It's much easier and safer to shovel smaller amounts.
Yeah.
More frequently.
So it's like all the other winterizing tasks we've been talking about.
Exactly.
Those small, consistent actions can prevent bigger problems down the road.
It's all about prevention.
Prevention. All right, so assuming I don't have a heated driveway,
Okay.
which I don't.
Most people don't.
What are some tips for, like, actually tackling the snow removal?
They recommend having all your gear organized and accessible before the snow even starts.
Makes sense.
Shovels, ice scrapers, snow brushes, gloves.
Yeah, you don't want to be, like, digging through the garage in a blizzard.
Nobody wants to do that.
Okay. And if you do have a snowblower, make sure it's been serviced.
Yeah, fueled up and ready to go.
Ready to go.
And have a backup plan, just in case.
Oh, okay.
That snowblower decides to quit on you.
So like a spare shovel.
The spare shovel, yeah.
Okay.
Or maybe even coordinate with a neighbor.
Oh, that's a good idea.
For some mutual snow removal assistance.
I love that neighborly love.
Exactly. Teamwork makes the dream work.
Okay, speaking of neighbors, they also emphasize, like, clearing those fire hydrants.
Oh, yeah.
And storm drains.
Super important.
Super important.
Especially in emergencies.
Yeah.
You want to make sure those are accessible.
Right.
And that the melting snow can drain properly.
Right. Prevent flooding.
Exactly. And, it's a good reminder that snow removal isn't just about us.
Right.
It's about being a good neighbor.
It is. It's about community.
Looking out for each other.
I love that. And actually, they bring up another point about checking in on your neighbors.
Oh, yeah. Especially those who might need extra help.
The elderly.
Elderly folks, people with disabilities.
Yeah, just offering to shovel their walkway or, like, even just checking in on them.
Right. Make sure they're okay.
Makes a big difference.
It does. It's those small acts of kindness.
Absolutely.
That can really make someone's day.
All right, well, this deep dive into winterizing has been awesome.
It has. I feel so much more prepared.
Me too.
Yeah.
And it's really more than just like a checklist.
Right. It's a whole mindset.
It is a whole mindset. It's about protecting our homes.
Saving energy. Strengthening our communities.
Yeah. I love that. All right. So for those of you listening, if you want the full rundown of winterizing tips, including that contractor list, head over to the Buyer's Edge website.
It's buyersagent.com.
Buyersagent.com. We will also include a link in the show notes.
And let us know what you think.
Yes. What are your go-to winterizing tips?
What challenges do you face?
Yeah, how do you overcome them?
We love to hear your thoughts.
Let's help each other out and create a warmer, safer, and more connected winter season.
Cheers to that.
Cheers to that. Until next time, stay warm, stay safe, and happy winterizing.
Happy winterizing.